What's happening, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Jampack Report today for September the 10th of 2019. Of course, for those that are brand new to the show, this is a daily gaming news podcast that keeps you up to date and informed on everything happening in the gaming industry. The show itself is hosted on youtube.com/Samuel Adams Media and podcast services around the world Monday through Friday in the morning hours. You can always expect it to hit the feed, and of course, I always have a good time. I hope you do as well. But today we are talking about Capcom's new team-based Resident Evil game coming soon, getting its first teaser trailer, and of course more info to come at TGS 2019, which is kicking off in just a couple of days. Then we have a follow-up to yesterday's story about NBA 2K20 because the game is riddled with glitches, but now it seems to take things to new heights, or I suppose you should say lows, with the taskbar on the PC version of the game actually showing NBA 2K19. Then SNK has announced a Neo Geo Arcade Stick Pro with 20 preloaded games for those that are looking for some plug-and-play action. EA's Project Atlas has gone into closed beta as of today. The Borderlands 3 team has some pretty big aspirations for some spin-off little adventures, such as an anime adaptation and a Borderlands theme park. Then we now know when we will see more of The Last of Us Part 2, hopefully even with a release date, and that is going to be a big part of the spring release season. And finally, for those that are fans of Hideo Kojima, the PT, the playable teaser, has a hack that now shows it was always more terrifying than we ever could have known. And that will round out today's show. But again, if you are brand new, I do hope you enjoy what I bring to the table. However, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's top gaming news. First off, Capcom's team-based Resident Evil spin-off Project Resistance is getting its first teaser trailer, and it's out now, and man, does it look good. Exactly as previously promised, Capcom has offered its first look at the mysterious new Resident Evil game, Project Resistance. The first reveal comes by way of a new cinematic teaser showcasing a team of likely sorts roaming through a mysterious research facility, only to be ambushed by some familiar-looking creatures from the Resident Evil universe before a final cliffhanger confrontation with a hulking and tastefully beheaded tyrant. While the trailer itself doesn't offer much in the way of specifics, Capcom's accompanying announcement tweet did confirm that Project Resistance will be a brand new team-based survival horror experience, tying in nicely with previous speculation that it would be some sort of modern-day revival of Capcom's co-op survival horror spin-off, Resident Evil Outbreak. Project Resistance is said to release sometime in the future on PS4, Xbox One, and PC, though that point is currently unspecified, and of course Capcom says more will be revealed, including first gameplay, at this year's Tokyo Game Show running from the 12th to the 15th, which is just a couple of days away in the month of September. And so this is very exciting. For those that didn't hear about this, basically what's going on is that this was leaked via a thumbnail, very small thumbnail, for this specific video. And so essentially it's a team-based, almost Left 4 Dead-esque kind of take on the Resident Evil universe, as they said, a spiritual successor of sorts to Resident Evil's Project Outbreak, I believe is what that was called. Something along those lines, Resident Evil Outbreak, you know, the team-based kind of approach here. I never did play the previous entry, but I will say, as far as cinematics go, this game has definitely caught my eye. And of course, whenever you're seeing the, 4 people fighting against this giant horde of zombies, stuff like these lickers that jump through the glass, etc., you do get these callbacks to the Call of Duty zombie days with the boys, the classic Left 4 Dead play sessions with the team. I mean, it's one of those situations where, man, this definitely has a niche audience that I think could be big enough to say, not really a niche audience. A lot of people could be digging this one. Now, I do like the fact that you see a couple of hints of how gameplay could work, such as what we just saw here, where you do finish off killing the entire wave of zombies, and then the next door opens, unlocking the next area of the map, the world, whatever it might be. And then you have this man controlling everything from his ivory tower, where he now has gloves that control Mr. X, the tyrant, whatever you want to call him, the big baddie that does follow you around in many Resident Evil games. But for sure, this is one that I'm excited to see more from whenever the Tokyo Game Show does roll around. And of course, I was kind of, a little bit speculative of this one. I wasn't sure it would definitely tickle my fancy. And again, we still haven't seen gameplay. But I will say, I'm much more interested now than I was before. So again, we are going to be seeing more at the Tokyo Game Show running the 12th through the 15th of September. So stay tuned, and I will update you for more of this game, which again looks pretty good considering that it is a spin-off of the Resident Evil franchise. which I will say has been doing very well lately, so a spinoff could be just as good as stuff like we've seen recently with the Resident Evil 2 remake on top of stuff like Resident Evil 7. However, let's talk about NBA 2K20 because somebody forgot to update NBA 2K20's taskbar icon on PC. Now, I will say in their defense, not too many people are going to be focusing on the PC version of NBA 2K. There is an audience for it, but it's nothing as compared to the console version of the game. At the same time, however, this amount of negligence, come on now, come on. Annual sports video games can often seem like barely updated versions of the previous year's installment. That is certainly the case with the PC version of NBA 2K20, which shows up on the Windows taskbar as NBA 2K19. NBA 2K20 is under fire for many reasons. Its microtransactions are atrocious. Its long loading times and glitches led to the hashtag #FixTwoK2020 trending on Twitter, and user reviews on Steam are overwhelmingly negative. Many of those Steam reviews call the game a rehash of last year's game, and the retro taskbar icon has become the poster child of that claim. I downloaded the game this morning, they say at Kotaku, on Steam and launched it, tabbed out, and sure enough, there was the icon for NBA 2K19. This feels like it should be one of the biggest things you triple check when you release a new version of an annual sports game, but hopefully it will be from here on out. This is just embarrassing. I have reached out to 2K about the icon mishap, the author says, and if I were them, I'd quietly swap it out and continue working on fixing NBA 2K20's bigger issues. This is just absolutely, as the article says, from Mike Fahey, I believe I said that name correctly at Kotaku, embarrassing. This is not something that should ever happen. Now, I will say, as the article does say as well, this is always one of those situations where you kind of suspect that the newest sports game might just be the older sports game with a bit of a couple of tweaks here and there, a roster update, if you will. But there's never anything that can really confirm that is the case. They very well could just rehash the same game and put a new box out on store shelves. That's literally what's been going on with NBA 2K19. And while I was thinking about this story before I went live this morning with the show, I thought maybe it's because, you know, there are so small improvements that can be made. Maybe this is excusable. And then I thought, wait, Sam, no, because people are paying $60 or more per year and then dumping microtransaction money into a game. They should be getting a new game. They should be getting a new game. And so with that being said, NBA 2K19 is out now. Because it is NBA 2K20, which is out this week. Again, huge disappointment here from the team, and whenever you are such a Goliath in the sports genre, you really should hold yourself to a higher standard, and hopefully this is a learning experience going forward. Hopefully they, number one, ensure that they have triple-checked whenever they are turning in the same paper twice, as they probably did in high school as well. But on top of that, make a new game. Do you know how many more copies you could sell if every year there were actual improvements? Do you know how fantastic that would be? But again, I suppose that takes funding and money and time, so no one really wants to invest any of those things. So again, if you want to pick up 2K20, wouldn't recommend it. Wouldn't recommend it at all. You should just get NBA 2K19 because it's the exact same game. However, you know what you could pick up? The SNK Neo Geo Arcade Stick Pro with 20 pre-loaded games, a console inside of a controller. If Terry Bogart's imminent arrival in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has you curious about Neo Geo fighting game history, SNK's latest hardware product may be of interest. The Neo Geo Arcade Stick Pro is an arcade stick that works as a controller itself, but also has 20 SNK fighting games pre-installed. In its controller mode, you can use the Arcade Stick Pro as a regular PC fighting stick, or even hook it up to the tiny Neo Geo Mini. In console mode, the stick runs its own selection of games and outputs over HDMI. You can connect Neo Geo Mini, control pads, or another Arcade Stick Pro for multiplayer, but hopefully the video output and the precision of the stick will be better than the Neo Geo Mini. Both were issues with that product. SNK has not announced which games will be included with the Arcade Stick Pro, but there are likely several titles from the company's classic series like King of Fighters, Fatal Fury, Art of Fighting, and Samurai Showdown to be included. Pricing and release date are also still unannounced, though SNK does say it will be available worldwide. And again, here is a look at the new piece of tech, and I will say, that looks like a pretty good fighting stick. Now, I own a Tekken Collector's Edition fight stick, and I will say that of the fight sticks that I've played, each one has a bit of a different feel. Some are tighter than others, some feel cheaper than others. That's really what it comes down to with this one. And so, whenever you are thinking about pricing, I would say maybe $200 if I had to give an estimate. But keep in mind that you are buying a fight stick on PC that does come with 20 preloaded games that can be played independently without any kind of console or additional kind of hardware. So there's a lot of value in this if you are a fighting games fan. Now, if you aren't, you might obviously not be into this, but this is made for the arcade fighter fans. This is made for those that crave that nostalgic kind of feel. And of course, for those that need a fight stick for stuff like Street Fighter V or the newest Tekken or whatever might be coming out, you could definitely get a lot of bang for your buck with this little piece of hardware. Again, here is a larger look at exactly what you can expect from the console/controller itself. You've got your HDMI ports, your USB ports, power ports, headphones, etc., etc. A cable storage box below the entire thing to keep everything nice and tidy whenever you are storing the controller itself. But overall, I think it's a pretty good entry into the SNK Neo Geo lineup, especially during this time where nostalgia is such a big selling point for so many companies and so many fans as well. You really can't complain whenever you're getting something from your childhood rehashed, but with a prettier package and better presentation. But if you want to pick it up again, no release date has been announced. No price has been announced either. No games have been announced, but hey, you probably already want it if you are going to be getting it. Am I right? Probably right. But you know what else is coming out? EA's Project Atlas. In fact, it is out now, which is the cloud gaming beta launched last night. You won't have to wait long to try EA's Project Atlas game streaming service. In fact, you might get to play very shortly. EA has announced a surprise cloud gaming technical trial will debut September 10th at 1 a.m. Eastern as a closed beta for some people who have signed up for community play testing. Those who get in will be limited to 4 games: FIFA 19, Need for Speed Rivals, Titanfall 2, and Unravel, but they will get to see how Atlas's synced game progression works firsthand. Progress you make while streaming will translate to your games on Origin no matter what device you are playing on. In addition to testing this progression, the trial will also gauge how well EA streaming works in real-life situations where jitter, lag, and other obstacles can sour the experience. EA is betting it can minimize these issues by using Amazon Web Services and the public cloud to place servers closer to gamers and improve reliability. The publisher hasn't said if or when it expects to premiere a full-fledged service. As with rivals like Google Stadia and Microsoft's Project X Cloud, EA is dreaming of a day when you can play its games on virtually any device with a screen, whether it's a computer, mobile device, or smart TV. The trial is both a step forward in that goal and a peek at the future, even if practical service isn't ready for a long while. And so we have yet another competitor entering into the ring officially when the cloud gaming, rush has begun. The big question here is how many of these services can actually survive independently, because you do have the kind of subscription service model beginning to be applied to this cloud gaming approach too. And what I mean by that is that you have Hulu Plus, you have Netflix, you have Disney Plus, you have all these services that are providing a similar service with slightly different offerings. And so how long can even that survive? Whenever you're thinking about cloud gaming, you have Google Stadia, you have the PlayStation Now service, you have Xbox Game Pass, which does offer downloads and pretty much thrives on downloads, but it is a similar kind of subscription service. And now you have Project Atlas, which in and of itself is kind of a technical proof, but at the same time also has the similar kind of tech. And so my question is, how long is it going to take for some of these services to begin to merge into one another? How long is it going to take for EA's Project Atlas to be folded into Google Stadia or to be folded in to something like PlayStation Now? That seems to be inevitable to me, but I could just be reading the situation wrong. Regardless, I think cloud gaming is without a doubt a big part of the future, and streaming is going to be a big part of the future, especially as more and more people across the country and across the world do get internet speeds that can support this kind of tech and this kind of entertainment intake. Now, as it stands right now, not possible for this to be the go-to way to experience content, especially giant games. But as more tech is developed, as more research is done, I think we are going to be seeing this become the go-to way for many people to play games. And it's very exciting, especially to see so many companies getting behind it early on. But I definitely think we're going to have to kind of narrow it down to a couple of companies that are good at one thing, with other companies supporting it from the outside. That's just my 2 cents, but we will see what happens. However, Borderlands 3 is coming out this week on the PS4, the Xbox One, and the PC via the Epic Games Store. But guess what? You could be going to the theme park soon. You could be. That's right, watching the anime, because the team behind Borderlands 3 wants both of these things. Borderlands 3's creative director has revealed that he sees the Borderlands franchise evolving beyond the video game series and into even more media, both on and off screen, namely an anime series and a theme park. Get your Vault Hunter popcorn here. Speaking to VG247 ahead of the release of Borderlands 3, Gearbox's Paul Sage got to reveal that VG247 is of... Wait, hold on, what? Gearbox's Paul Sage got to reveal to VG247 about his future ambitions for the franchise. Took a minute, but we got it out. Quote, "We are talking the other day about, would it be good, almost like an anime type thing," Sage reveals to VG247. You know, somebody brought up Love, Death, and Robots to me, says Sage, referencing the David Fincher-produced animated Netflix sci-fi anthology series released earlier this year. And I was like, oh, hell yeah, that would be a lot of fun. I'd love to see things like that, honestly, says Sage. We'll see what the future holds. I mean, hopefully people love the game, and hopefully they'll love all the source material, and they want to do that. It hasn't been reported yet whether the Borderlands feature film, currently in development with Lionsgate, will be animated or live action, though film site Full Circle recently reported that while the film will draw from the looter shooter source material, it will feature a different female protagonist. Earlier in the year, Sage revealed exclusively to VG247 that his dream casting for fan-favorite little robot Claptrap in the upcoming movie would be none other than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, saying, yeah, The Rock has to play Claptrap. We asked if the WWE superstar has been in touch since. You know, Jim Ferranda is awesome. He plays Claptrap right now, so honestly, I'd love to keep Jim. But you know, if The Rock ever calls me, I'll be like, hey man, come audition, says Sage. I'm sure he'd be like, audition, Sage adds. Indeed, that's what would happen. Meanwhile, the Gearbox creative director revealed he can see the franchise expanding beyond the screen too. With a film and ideas for an anime in the pipeline, it seems the sky is the limit with the series. I hope so. I know this sounds silly, but I love seeing anytime we do things like toys, the FLAC plushies. I love those types of expansions. How about going even bigger into physical media, though? Does he have visions for a Pandora theme park, for example? A Borderlands theme park? Yes, I'll take a Borderlands theme park, says Sage. I'm trying to think of what would be the most obvious ride that you would have. Would it be a Claptrap's Cave? Sage considers the options. You know, when I was a kid, I used to go to Six Flags all the time, and going into the cave was always so fun. And the log ride, so yeah, I'd totally dig something like that. The nice thing about log flumes is that there are no stairs, so it's totally Claptrap compatible, Sage reasons. Borderlands 3 is going to be released on September the 13th for PS4, Xbox One, and PC, if you do want to dive in. And so, again, none of this is confirmed. It seems like all of this is kind of just being spitballed during an interview. But at the same time, does Borderlands itself have the potential? Does it have the gusto to really present itself outside of the gaming space? As a film, I could see it happening, especially if it does take the art style that is so commonly associated with Borderlands. But at the same time, could it be big enough to support a theme park? That's a bit much. I mean, you have giant theme parks that are based off of very popular IP that can barely support themselves, often falling and becoming something else as time goes on. And so Borderlands is huge, but is it theme park huge? I don't really think that it is. Again, none of this is in the works. This is not something that is currently being developed, but at the same time, kind of exciting to at least speculate about what could actually be coming. Now, when it comes to an anime series, that's a totally different story. I see that as a big win. That is something that should absolutely happen because of how anime is developed in 2019. Because you could just do a small Netflix animated series. You could do something with an Amazon exclusive kind of original. Something along those lines. There are so many companies that would jump at the opportunity to capture even a small portion of the gaming space whenever it comes to adapting gaming IP for movies and television. But we will have to wait and see if any of this actually does come to fruition. But at the moment, we could be seeing an anime and a Borderlands theme park if the dreams of Mr. Sage are to be realized. Although I highly doubt we will be seeing a theme park. I highly doubt we will ever see the movie. But I could see an anime series coming at some point down the line. However, you know what else is coming down the line? The Last of Us Part 2, because now more details are going to be coming on September the 24th. Naughty Dog has been fairly quiet about The Last of Us Part 2 since E3 2018. Again, let me repeat, E3 2018. But you are about to hear a lot more. The studio has sent invitations for a media event that will discuss the post-apocalyptic action game in greater detail. While details aren't forthcoming at this stage, it won't be surprising if you hear a lot more about gameplay, the plot, and possibly a release schedule. It's not often there are high-profile media events devoted to individual games, but this wouldn't be surprising for The Last of Us 2. It's one of the biggest PS4 games that has yet to ship and may well be the swan song for the console, given the PS5 is unofficially expected in late 2020. An event could shed light on the game and foster hype naturally in a timely fashion without having to wait for someone else's event or sharing the spotlight with anyone else. And of course, here is the invitation itself as posted by Jeff Keighley on Twitter. Again, The Last of Us Part 2 media event 9/24/19, Los Angeles, California. If you did want to crash the party, again, no address there, but exciting nonetheless to see that we are going to be getting some more info shortly. Time is running out, ladies and gents. We got to get this one down the pipe. We got to get this one onto the storefronts because the PlayStation 5 is imminent. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. This is going to be a cross-generational title. You are going to be seeing The Last of Us Part 2 released on the PlayStation 4. And I would go so far as to say during the reveal of the PlayStation 5, you'll see a supported version of The Last of Us Part 2 launching on the console because this game has been in the works for such a long time. It can't just launch on the PS4 and die with the console. Now, make no mistake, as soon as the PlayStation 5 is out, the PS4 is not dead by any stretch of the imagination. There are plenty of games that still do give that console value. But as time goes on, The Last of Us Part 2 could thrive much, much better on the PlayStation 5 as well as on the PlayStation 4 rather than just on the legacy console. But at the same time, exciting to hear that more details are going to be coming shortly with The Last of Us Part 2, and of course, one of the biggest and most anticipated games for not only the PlayStation 4, but also 2020. So we will see what exactly comes of The Last of Us Part 2 on September the 24th, when again, hopefully, we will see more details about release, but on top of that, some more gameplay, maybe a trailer or two. But you know what's terrifying? Lisa was following you the whole time because a PT camera hack has revealed that Lisa is always right behind you. The half-rotted ghost that haunts you in PT is always right behind you as revealed by a neat camera hack. One of PT's scariest tricks is hearing Lisa behind you when you walk down a corridor or seeing her skittering shadow on the wall to your side. When you turn around, however, the corridor behind is empty with no sign of her rotted face whatsoever. In an attempt to figure out what's really happening in these moments, hacker Lance McDonald went to the game's code and discovered that when you pick up the flashlight, Lisa literally attaches herself to your back. Quote, she actually attaches to the player's back as soon as you get the flashlight, he tweeted alongside a clip where he locks the camera in place and walks forward to reveal Lisa floating behind. She is always there, following you. McDonald told VG247 he has found enough content over the months inside PT's code for a full video, but decided this particular discovery was too grisly not to share. I finally found all of the code that handles the zoom in when the player clicks the R3 button. I removed all of the code that adjusts the camera and replaced it with my own, and then patched the game so that it thinks you are always holding R3, so it constantly injects my custom camera axis. And Viola Nightmare Fuel. Despite being only a demo for Konami and Hideo Kojima's canceled Silent Hills project, PT is widely considered one of the scariest video games of all time. In the 5 years since its release, my god, it's been 5 years, it has gained a near mythical status, partly thanks to the fact it is no longer available to download, but also because fans have continued to unearth strange secrets. And I will say, very impressive to see that this has been done, number one, but number two, my god, that's terrifying. There are still secrets to be revealed in Hideo Kojima's playable teaser for whatever that project was going to be. And of course, there's the screenshot of Lisa standing behind you, waiting patiently for you to eventually get to the end of the teaser itself. Now, I will say, again, you cannot really download the game right now, considering the fact that it is, in fact, gone. But at the same time, man, it is fun just to see what could have been if this game had actually been released. Of course, Twitter makes videos look like hot garbage, but at the same time, I'm very impressed to see just how beautiful the game itself looks, the lighting, the aesthetic, the vibe. It's all horrifying in the absolute worst way. Absolutely the worst possible way. However, that does round out today's episode of the Jampack Report. Again, if you are brand new to the show, I do hope you enjoy what I bring to the table. And of course, I do bring it to the table. We set the table 5 days a week, Monday through Friday on youtube.com/Samuel Adams Media, as well as podcast services around the world. But until next time, you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. I will talk to you soon, and